Did Ilhan Omar commit treason? Benny Johnson says that it sure sounds like treason. The United States attacked Iran on February 28th at 1:15 in the morning, and Ilhan Omar posted this on February 26th at 8:55 p.m. She says, Iraq was attacked by the U.S. during Ramadan, and it is sickening to know that the U.S. is going to attack Iran during Ramadan. There you have it. She told our enemies what was going to happen. At this point, when I read this the first time, I didn't know what she was talking about. She just kept going off about Ramadan. The U.S. apparently loves to strike Muslim countries during Ramadan, and I'm convinced it isn't what these countries have done to violate international law, but about who they worship. So I wonder if she learned in her terrorist class how to tip off our enemies. Because I was thinking about Ramadan from this post. I didn't know what she was talking about. Even the reader's added context is about Ramadan. It says that none of the Persian Gulf Wars started in Ramadan, and it gives some examples. But meanwhile, we should have been focusing on this part where she literally told our enemies that they were going to be attacked. This is treason. Look at Ilhan Omar's face. I don't think I have ever seen her happier than she is in this clip.
When I was in college, I took a terrorism class, and
is that a such thing?
Yeah, there was.
So there is a lab for that?
There was a class that you.
Do you go to a lab?
No, we learned the
yeah.
ideology of.
I'm glad you do that.
Al Qaeda, hospital.
He's an expert.
When I was in college,
so you can see her eyes smiling as she talks about Al Qaeda and Hezbollah. I have never seen this woman smile in any other video, unless that she is talking about the terrorism class that she took. So how did we get here? You guys remember Nick Shirley went to Minneapolis and did a phenomenal job at exposing massive fraud happening there. And then everybody began to look at people in government like Tim Walz. How could he allow this to happen? Mayor Jacob Frey and Ilhan Omar. Suspiciously, she is worth a lot of money.
Let me give you the perfect example. How about Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar? In February of this year, she shot down claims that she's actually a millionaire. She wrote, "My salary is $174,000 before taxes. I don't have stock or own a home. And I'm still paying off my student debt. So if you're going to lie on something that is public, maybe try checking my financial statements, and you will see I barely have thousands, let alone millions." Well, people have checked the public records now. Ilhan Omar apparently has a net worth upwards of $30 million, somewhere between $60 and $30 million. And get this, it's because of companies run and owned by her husband, who in 2023 had a net worth of $51,000. In 1 year, that $51,000 grew from $6 to $30 million.
So we have then progressed a little bit since then. We're like, oh, okay, her husband is this genius entrepreneur who made a company, you know, he made it against all odds. And in 1 year, his business exploded. Okay, so we were like, wow. But then you realize that their winery business is fake. Their consulting business is more sketchy than just being fake. We had Ilhan Omar in January on the 16th posting that Ilhan Omar committed fraud in response to that video that you just watched. Do you guys remember when Elon Musk was leading Doge and all of the fraud that they exposed and stopped it from happening? And so it's baffling to me to know that this woman is still in Congress, especially when she shouldn't have got there. How did she get there?
Let's look at, Ilhan Omar, who was voted into power.
The face of...
Voted into Congress by, a large group of people from Somalia who are in Minnesota, which is really far from Somalia.
So voted in by them. Okay, look at what the Democrat Party is turning into. Libs of TikTok just recently posted Fox reporting a Michigan mosque held a memorial service to honor Ayatollah for his martyrdom. Okay, this is the Democrat Party. This is what is left of them. Ilhan Omar committing fraud, possibly funding, sending money to who knows where. It's very suspicious how she's worth so much money at the same time as these massive fraud scandals. And then on top of that, letting them know what our military is planning to do. It is crazy. So before the attack, people were sharing this post of Ilhan, just upset for her even to think that she has a leg to stand on to comment on it. But then days later to find out what she was actually doing is terrifying, honestly, to know that we have people working against us. So this woman said, Iranians don't care about your Islamic crap, not even those who are Muslim. You are a US representative, not our representative, not the Islamic Republic representative. Be quiet, sit this one out. This person says she writes about the US as if it's a foreign country because it is to her. Yes. Valentina Gomez says, I don't care if a terrorist is hungry, blank. The best type, Valentina knows how to get limited ads on YouTube. I mean, we have ICE for sharing a post of hers saying that she doesn't know what she's talking about. This woman has made some of the worst comments about the tragedy that happened on September 11th in New York. She is continuously trying to put down ICE and DHS, calling for their abolishment. This woman is working against us in every sense. Hundreds of millions. I keep saying that, but it's actually billions of dollars are missing. And now we see this woman tipping off our enemies, trying to destroy the agencies that are meant to protect us, all Americans. So Benny Johnson recently interviewed Assistant AG Harmet Dillian, and she confirms that Omar is now facing citizenship issues.
To see her contempt, and right next to her, Rashida Tlaib, another person with an immigrant background. Look, Ilhan Omar has some legal issues regarding her citizenship. I'll just leave it at that. I think that they've been well covered in the press, but it's shameful. And I am so happy to be an American, and people need to get out there and touch some grass in other countries and see what they go through to really appreciate how great we have it in this country. But freedom isn't free.
I mean, Ilhan Omar it's not just she's an immigrant, I mean, the left always tries to make it seem like Donald Trump hates all immigrants. Donald Trump just said today that his mom, I believe, or was it his dad, was born in the UK. He is married to an immigrant woman. We appreciate immigrants who come to the United States and smile the same way that Ilhan Omar was smiling when she was talking about Hezbollah. We love immigrants that come here and want to be a part of it and build the American dream and provide value. But what Ilhan Omar is doing is the exact opposite of that.
And every generation needs to fight for it. And if we're complacent about it, we will lose it. And history has shown us that that civilizations that get fat and happy usually lose it. And we're so fat and happy that we're handing out billions of dollars to scamsters in these blue states and not caring about it at the same.
Sorry, I want to get to the part where she talks about her potentially losing her citizenship.
On that, I will tell you that I was very
anything, but
sure.
I think it's been well covered, and I covered it certainly myself before I joined the DOJ. That certainly it's a truism of immigration law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining your citizenship, if you lie about being that you weren't a Nazi guard at a concentration camp, you can be denaturalized. If you lie about your marriage status on which your citizenship depends, or your familial status, or what have you, if you fake any of those documents or you lie, that's a grounds for denaturalization. And
okay, so I appreciate her explaining how that works, because a lot of times when people all over the internet are saying to deport her, and it doesn't sound like the fraud that potentially could be connected to her from Minneapolis, like the Feeding Our Future thing or the other things that she's lobbied and asked for millions of dollars for. I don't know if that could get her deported. It doesn't sound like it could. I don't even know if her potentially having had married her brother could get her denaturalized and deported, because it sounds like that would almost be on him, like him lying to come to the United States. Yet, when it comes to her dad, however, look, Ilhan Omar, by the way, literally committed treason, guys. And so when it comes to her dad, where is this post? So first of all, committing treason is the worst thing that a person could do in this country. At least 5 years in jail and a fine of at least $10,000. Okay, that's what she's looking at. This is not a joke. So in the best case scenario, doesn't it sound like she would end up in jail for letting Iran know what was going to happen? This is a country that our president is afraid that they could have nuclear weapons. There was an earthquake there of a 4.3 magnitude just early this morning or yesterday about, and some people speculate that they could have been testing nuclear weapons. When North Korea was testing, I believe they had a 5.1 magnitude earthquake. And so some people say it was too small. Other people believe they're testing something else. I mean, the timing is just convenient. It's crazy, actually, because I'm pretty sure that Iran hasn't had an earthquake for a few years. So just crazy, right? It's not something to be playing around with. This is our lives, our safety, our entire lives. Ilhan Omar is putting that at risk. Grok tells me that it is true. The core claim is true, based on multiple reliable sources, including Ilhan Omar's own memoir, her father's obituary, and biographical details. Nur Omar Mohammed was indeed a high-ranking officer in the Somali National Army under the dictatorship of that dude. The Bar regime was a military dictatorship aligned with Marxist, Leninist, and socialist principles. Okay, so what's this woman doing in the country? You know, it's like they were fleeing, right? Or were they the reason why there was war? So Grok says there's no credible evidence that he personally committed war crimes and blank. Yet there are claims of that. You know, in her own book, she talks about her neighbors telling on them. Why would they do that? Why is it that your own neighbors in our country are like freaking out also for their safety? You know, there's just too much, and it's getting too serious for something to not be done. This is beyond independent journalism. This is some type of department in our country, I believe, should take responsibility for this and, you know, recognize that she is putting our lives in danger. And on top of that, she even brags about it. She just makes a bunch of money on it and then makes these videos and makes these posts. She thinks she's an influencer who can get away with anything.
Congresswoman Omar, yesterday you told me to please read when I asked you about the $9 billion fraud that you denied is happening, but I have it right here. I read. Look, Chairman Comer opens hearing on massive fraud scandal, $9 billion.
That's what Comer believes because he's as smart as you are.
It's not just Comer. It's Scott Besson. It's federal prosecutors. It's House Oversight.
Absolutely
And
no
it's Minnesota State
way.
Reps.
You can have that, ma'am. I think you need to get examined because your brain has been fried in some way, and it's not okay. I really hope you get some help. You and the Republicans here. Take care, okay?
Man, that lady is extremely rude.
Running over in Minnesota, but I'm sorry, I couldn't go to the learning centers that you're running over in Minnesota, but...
Right. That was a good one. I mean, she is rude, right? Imagine if somebody talked to her that way and said, hey, Ilhan, I think that you've had your brain fried. She would probably talk about, oh, you're saying this because of my religious freedom. Seriously, she would. She's incredibly rude and demeaning to an American who is just asking her some questions that all of America is wondering. And yet she says, oh, that's what Comer thinks. No, that is what everybody thinks. Have you been online? There's a reason why you disable your comments. Guys, make sure you're subscribed. This is unfolding in just ways I've never imagined. So subscribe so you can continue to stay updated. Thanks for supporting the channel.